It's the playoffs in high school football, round number one. The James Wood Colonels travel back to face the Sherando Warriors. Last week, the James Wood Colonels take care of business 43-27 against crosstown rival Millbrook. As always, joining me, the head coach of the Colonels, Todd Wilson. Coach, as always, appreciate your time. Before we even get into the game, a very lively atmosphere at James Wood, some parachute jumpers jumping into the stadium and some custom uniforms. Just take me through that experience, what that was like for you and your team to experience something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great honor to be able to do that. They reached out to us. I think it was before the end of last school year. So this has been in the works for a long time. We knew about it, and we were honored that they reached out to us and gave us that opportunity. We jumped at the chance to be able to do something like that. The day of was a little hectic. We knew the logistics and all that stuff was put into place, and those guys did a great job with all that, and they handled that stuff. But it was senior night too, so there was a lot going on before the game that wasn't necessarily what head coaches like to deal with. It's a lot of distractions and things like that. But we kind of put that to the side after the parachutes came down and all that stuff. We went back into the locker room for a couple minutes to readjust and put that behind us and refocus on what it ultimately was about that night is the football game that was needed to be played. So I thought the guys did a good job of staying focused to what needed to happen.
And tell us a little bit behind the uniforms as well, the custom uniforms for that as well, and take me through how you like those threads for the game day.
Yeah, I mean they just reached out to us. I mean that's the National Guard's uniforms. I think they use those throughout the year, different locations and different high schools and stuff like that. So that wasn't anything purchased by us or through us. They asked us if we would like to wear those alternative uniforms, and they had pretty much all the numbers. There was a couple guys that had to wear some numbers that they hadn't wore all year, but we had pretty much all of them, I think, except for one kid's number that he'd been wearing, and he didn't mind. He was happy to put that on and kind of honor the veterans and people who served in the armed forces. So the kids really liked it. I thought it looked good with our gold pants and the white helmets. It was a good look. The kids just gave them a little bit more just something a little extra. I mean those high school kids they love to look good and all that type of stuff. So they were excited about it.
So now getting into the game against Millbrook, seemed to be sort of a tale of two halves, keeping it very close. Millbrook scoring some, you putting points on the board. I know Millbrook had a kicker return for a touchdown after you went down and scored. In sort of the second half, the Colonels seemed to carry some momentum and get a couple scores to seal the deal. Just take me through that aspect, the tale of two halves, and what you saw out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt comfortable going into halftime. It was 21-20. They got the ball. They moved it down the field on us. We stiffened up there in the red zone and forced them to a field goal, which is, a lot of teams don't do that. I mean, once they get rolling, they punch it into the end zone. So I felt good there. We get the kickoff return. We fumble it. Give them a short yardage to go again. Backed up into our territory, our defense was, and they held them to 3 points again. So, I was feeling pretty confident in our defense once we were able to hold them to field goals there early in the game. And then, that was pretty much the first quarter. We get the ball back and run, I think, 4 or 5 plays in the first quarter. So our offense wasn't on the field almost the entire first quarter. We go down and score. Then our special teams unit gives up a big kick return. Again, they score on our special teams, which had been playing really good up until that play. And offensively, we felt confident in everything we were doing. We went in at halftime and talked about some stuff. And then before we went out at halftime, I just told the offensive assistants and the guys that were on the offensive side that, we're here talking about a bunch of stuff that we can do but the things that we had been doing in the first half, were working. So, let's stick to the game plan and just continue executing what we've been doing in the first half. And that's pretty much what we did the second half. And, the defense made the stops that they needed. And our offense was rolling pretty good that night.
In highlighting two players, it seemed like Owen Neal and Kobe Mason were leading offensively. Obviously, I would imagine crediting your offensive line as well. Just take me through what you saw out of Owen and Kobe in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean they've been doing that the last couple of weeks. Have been pretty good for him. Kobe's a hard runner. He'd been banged up on and off throughout the season. He had a lower body injury early in the year in Warren County, which he's battled back through. Then he suffered a concussion, Handley. So I mean he's been kind of battling injuries throughout the entire season. He's coming on strong here for us. I think he's played. I think he's missed about 2.5, 3 games this year for us. So in 7 games, he's a little over 700 yards rushing. A lot of that has come in the last couple weeks. So he's running the ball really hard. Owen's doing a much better job right now of reading his keys and knowing when to keep the ball on some of our reads. He's kind of coming into his own there. That's something we didn't do a lot last year. We started a little bit progressively, this year, but it wasn't like fully, all of our reads. So we've kind of done more of those as the year has progressed, just because he's, getting more comfortable with what we're doing and what we're asking him to do. And I think both of those guys played really well. And, the guys who are blocking for him, we ask a lot out of our receivers. Receivers like to catch footballs. We like to throw the football around here too, but the last couple of weeks our run game's been working. So we've asked those guys to block a lot, and they've done that really well at times, and have continued to get better out of the year. And our offensive line is continuing to get better as well.
So, looking at this matchup, defeating Millbrook, focusing on what your squad needed to do in winning this football game, how the playoffs shaked out, you were able to get into the playoffs, which means traveling to face a Sherando Warriors team that you went to play once before. How huge is it that you get this matchup again in terms of you've played them once before and you sort of know what to expect in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, we've played them; they played against us, so it's a familiar teams there. We're excited with whoever we had to play. We're excited to be in the playoffs this year. I think I think 2 times in the last 10 years. So it's not like this happens year in year out here. James Wood. That's kind of what we're trying to convince the kids that we can do here is to be consistently competitive, and play for opportunities to get in the playoffs year in and year out. So we're just excited that we're in. Gives us an opportunity. It's kind of unique. It don't happen all the time where you play an opponent that you've already that you're really familiar with. I've coached in a lot of other playoff games, and that really didn't happen when I was coaching in West Virginia. It happened one other time. We played an opponent we played earlier in the year, but it's something that's unique. We're able to go down there and hopefully put our best effort forward.
So, looking at the Warriors, obviously you played them once before. So, how do you sort of evaluate on the tape, sort of looking back at your last matchup and looking at their most recent game, obviously, in terms of preparing for the Warriors the second time?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we had a good game plan. Um, so I don't think it was anything necessarily that we need to scrap and start from zero. I thought we had a good game plan. We didn't execute it very well. Early on in the game, we were playing with them. I thought pretty good. And it was kind of when the floodgates opened up, they opened up all at once. And looking back on the film, I watched it again just recently. I felt pretty good. And then all of a sudden, within just a few minutes of halftime, it goes from potentially a 1-score game to 21-0 pretty quick. So we can't afford to turn the ball over. We can't afford to make stupid penalties kind of thing. The roughing the snapper gave them an extra possession, an extra down. They're too good of a football team to do things to help them out. Not to take anything away from them, because they executed. We made mistakes and they capitalized on them. That's what good football teams do. So limit some of those type of things, and hopefully maybe one or two things goes against them and they make a mistake or two, to help us out. So I think it's going to be a good atmosphere. We're looking just excited to have the opportunity to play.
Absolutely. And just last but not least, obviously, this is your second year as the head coach of the James Wood Colonels. Getting to this point, surpassing your win total from last year, making it to the playoffs. Just tell me how that feels, that you are building with this team and getting better and better in a sense.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. I mean, I said I mentioned to you before. We talked at the beginning of the season. You asked what my expectations was, or what the goals were. The expectation was to get better week in and week out. And I think back to our first game of the year against Warren County, compared to where we are at now. We are a completely different football team from week one, in a good way. So that's the ultimate goal, is to see guys' hard work pay off. It's not about me. It's not about the other coaches on staff. It's about the kids that are, dedicated to the weight room. We ask a lot out of them. They show up. They work hard. Football is a grind. I mean, it's a physical, tough sport. And some kids are cut out to do it, and some kids are not. And I think we're starting to find some kids who really are buying into the hard work mentality, and are wanting to continue to work hard. And, I think we took a pretty good step from year one into year two. And, we got a lot of these guys coming back after this season. We're not graduating a ton of players. We've got a lot of young kids that got a lot of reps this year. So, hopefully that is, bodes well for us in the future.
It's the playoffs, high school football. The James Wood Colonels traveling to face the Sherando Warriors. As always, the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson. Coach, always a pleasure chopping it up with you, sir. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Josh.
It's the first round of the high school football playoffs. The Shenandoah Warriors get a home game versus the James Wood Colonels. Last week, the Warriors defeating Millbrook 28-14. Now joining me, the head coach of the Shenandoah Warriors, TJ Rohrbaugh. And coach, in this game, it was close, competitive, but the Shenandoah Warriors going out, sticking to your game plan each and every week, executing and getting the job done. Just your overall thoughts on this win at Handley.
I thought our guys did a great job executing in all three phases of the game. We knew it was going to be a tough game. Handley's got a fantastic football team. They're huge up front. They're athletic. We had to overcome that, but our guys did a good job of staying in there and fighting, and we were able to overcome it.
Yeah, and sort of the key to the game, some turnovers in the game that the Warriors were able to take and convert into points. How huge was that, getting a few of those turnovers and going down and converting those as well in a close game like this?
Anytime that you're playing against a really good football team like Handley, things like penalties and turnovers are going to be the difference. And we were fortunate enough that we had a big turnover ourselves, but we were able to generate 3 turnovers, 4 points off of them. There was a 4th turnover there. They fumbled on the sideline. We recovered, but the refs didn't give it to us. It was pretty clear. So we had a 4th turnover there. But I think that's huge. It's not just creating the turnovers; it's what you do after you get the ball. And we were able to convert 2 of those to touchdowns, and so I was proud of our guys.
And Also, just looking back, I know we spoke about this post game, but after the game, getting the Crimson Apple, the Barlinden Apple Cup, that is, and some time to celebrate that. Obviously, it must have been great to be together with the team celebrating that win, getting the Apple Cup, but still, at this point, I assume you're locked and loaded, getting ready for round one of the playoffs. Though, just take me through what it was like just celebrating that moment with the team, though.
It was a good feeling. We don't play for championships. I mean, we play to go out there and try and reach our full potential, and we have fun playing football together. It's nice. It was good. It provides a little bit of a sense of accomplishment there at the end of the season. But for us, it's all about just getting back to work on Monday. We have one less recovery day. It was a very physical game out there on Saturday, so we have one less recovery day, which, isn't ideal. But we got back to the grind on Monday, and our full focus is this week is on our playoff game with James Wood.
So, a unique set of circumstances. Your round one game is against James Wood, which you faced them once before at home, just like before. You sort of know what they're doing, but I'm trying to get an idea from you, Coach. Just how does it feel you're playing them again after playing them the first time in the same season? What is that like when it comes to preparing for this team, knowing that you've seen them once before?
It's tough preparing for anybody in the playoffs. A team that you're familiar with, you go back and you watch the film of the first game. You see what they did to hurt you. You look for areas where they could have hurt you that they're looking for, that they're going to capitalize. And then we're doing the same thing. We're looking at opportunities that we left out there on the field and things that we liked that we didn't quite capitalize on, try and take advantage of those things. But, when you play a team a second time, there's going to be that element of surprise. We're going to do some things differently defensively and offensively than they saw the first time, and they're going to counteract that by doing things differently offensively and defensively that they did the first time. And it really comes down to recognizing what those things are going to be once we kick off on Friday night and adjusting accordingly.
So would you say sort of a modified game plan in terms of that element of surprise as you're facing this team a second time to sort of keep them on their heels, or what is that like?
It's not really a modified game plan. It's just how you game plan going into any football game. You're going to want to take advantage of the things that you like offensively, defensively, and special teams, and just, prepare your kids accordingly and set your scheme accordingly. And, we're attacking this week just like we do any other week.
And as you mentioned, this week, I assume it's business as usual, just preparing your players and stuff. But after a hard-fought physical game on Saturday, one less day of preparation for this playoff game against James Wood, did you try to tweak anything to make sure they got their full maximum potential of practice, or is it the same per usual?
No, we just, we tweaked it a little bit there on Monday to allow our guys some extra recovery time. But, after Monday, it's just preparation, business as usual. I thought our guys responded well to it. And, we got to have a great day of practice today, have a great Thursday, and be ready to roll on Friday against a very good James Wood team that, is going to be right there with us. I mean, I expect it to go down to the wire. And hopefully, we're able to pull it out.
Once again, the first round of the high school football playoffs as the Sherando Warriors square off once again with the James Wood Colonels. As always, so gracious first time, the head coach of the Sherando Warriors, TJ Rohrbal. Coach, really appreciate you as always, sir.
All right. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.